bit so you can have some more space. So please welcome her up here. It takes a lot of courage.
Actually, there's one thing you guys, you can't hear me, can you? Can you? Can you hear me now? Good? Yeah? Okay. Again, thank you everybody for coming. It takes a lot of guts and a lot of determination to come out, and I think it's wonderful that we're having an event like this. You don't hear too many like this in Lake County, and I think it's a huge step for us. I'm going to try and get through this without my voice rattling and shaking, because I don't think I've gotten up on a podium since sophomore year in high school, but we'll see how it goes. Who am I? This is a question I've struggled with most of my life, by what it is that defines me. I could stand up here and give you a list of everything that I do on a daily basis between work, home, and life, but I am here today to tell you who I really am and what I am grateful for in being able to define myself as today. I'm a mom. I'm an autism mom. I'm an autism warrior. I owe this badge of honor to my beautiful son, JJ, and his exquisite big sister, Bailey. She's right back there. I want to try and get through this without being emotional too, because it's an amazing part of our journey in our life. JJ was born on August 5th, 2013, a beautiful bouncing baby boy with a smile and a set of the most beautiful green eyes a mother could ask for. My pregnancy was a normal one on account of carrying a soon-to-weigh 10-pound baby, but besides the norms of pregnancy, I experienced a normal one. I was careful during my pregnancy, just as I was with my daughter Bailey. I didn't indulge, I ate healthy, I exercised, and throughout my pregnancy dreamt of what my son was going to achieve and experience in his life. I dreamt of giggling, first days at school, his marriage, my potential grandchildren, the joys of potty training, and birthday parties filled with loved ones and my son's friends. Life was beautiful as I knew it, and I was so hopeful for the future. JJ was born that day after a complicated delivery filled with terms that indicated breech, C-section, trauma, and Billy lights. Needless to say, we didn't have the most typical delivery. Be that as it may, I welcomed a beautiful baby boy into this world, and I would go through it all a million times over. My son nuzzled my neck on our first night, and I knew at that moment my life would never be the same. In the days, weeks, and months following, I had a wonderful baby who displayed coos, laughter, and smiles. JJ was meeting all of his typical milestones. As a mother, there was nothing more I could ask for. We laughed over the fact that my son could climb over coffee tables before he had the ability to walk. And when he did learn how to walk, he took his first step, and I was right there to get it on camera to share with the rest of the world. As far as I knew it, my son was kicking butt and taking names, and as far as I knew, everything was great. Soon after JJ learned to walk, I started noticing some things that I hadn't seen with my daughter. When he would travel from one room to the other, he walked on his tippy toes. I researched it as soon as I started seeing it. Only seeing the autism links associated, but no, not my baby. It was a tick, he'll grow out of it. Or when he played with his trucks, he was only interested in the wheels and examining them like he was taking data on circumference and RPM. He was going to be an engineering genius, I thought. My son seemed interested in me, but didn't seem connected. He would babble, but not in the typical way of carrying on what seemed to be a narrative ready to tell the world. I was sure it was either apraxia or there was some sort of hearing issues. It really wasn't a big deal. By the way, I learned about apraxia from a top autism website. I shrugged everything off at the time, thinking that these behaviors were a result of a traumatic birth and possible oxygen deprivation due to the umbilical cord being wrapped around his neck at birth. He was a little behind, he'll catch up, is the motto that increased in his playback mode the older that he got. And friends agreed with me in their observations of him, but while their intentions were with me and my feelings, they weren't geared towards the reality of the situation. At this point in time, his behavior started to turn into something I had to defend, and I wasn't going to look at what he was doing as something to be a cause of concern. Unfortunately, I was in the mood to go with the flow. Things will work themselves out, and my angel is okay. My baby doesn't have autism. It wasn't until JJ was brought in for a physical that I had my first implications that things were not okay. My JJ wasn't walking hand in hand with me all that often. In fact, taking him off my hip seemed to be an impossibility back in those days. Even the thought of putting him in the cart at the grocery store was a no-go, as I was met with tantrums and screaming. "Mama's boy, huh?" people joked. Yeah, I walked with my head down. As JJ and I walked into the doctor's office and were shuffled into the back examination room, JJ had his soft cheek pressed up against my face, a calmness in the embrace not unlike his nuzzle the day that he was born. Our nurse directed us to the seat where we were left until the doctor arrived. As soon as the doctor closed the door, I was able to let JJ down to play with the toys available. He made a beeline to the Big Bird flashlight and some blocks, but instead opted for a circular block that he could roll on the ground. He played there quietly and we waited for the doctor. His doctor entered the room, looked down at JJ. "Hi, JJ." With a non-reciprocated response, JJ kept playing. His doctor asked me a series of questions regarding how he has been lately, in which I responded to my worry about the tippy-toe walking and lack of speech, night terrors, which were a new one in the weeks prior, knowing well that he was going to agree that maybe this was just an issue of JJ being a little bit behind. I also told him that JJ started running and shrieking when he was really happy, that he would shake his hands in the air. It's cute, he gets so excited. I think we need to explore the options of having JJ evaluated. Evaluated for what? I responded. He could not tell me what exactly he was noticing, but that contacting our local regional center wouldn't be a bad idea. I had heard about autism through friends even before I had JJ, but I never related his behavior to autism because that wasn't my baby. "Do you think he has autism?" I asked. "I can't tell you that, but I think you should contact them. In fact, I will put in a referral." The doctor didn't make a lot of eye contact with me when he told me that. He just kept looking at my quiet baby boy on the floor playing by himself. In that instance, every dream that I had for my child seemed to disappear with every roll back and forth of that circular block. I looked at JJ and he smiled at me, not knowing what we were just told, and he sat in my lap. What was going to happen to my baby? What were we going to do? Not my baby, not my baby. And what was I left to do? I was left to wait for a phone call. I remember walking with JJ and putting him in his car seat after the appointment and giving him a kiss. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We're going to prove them all wrong. Mommy is going to protect you no matter what. I got home after our visit and laid JJ down as he had fallen asleep on the way home. I refused to accept that autism was going to be my baby's fate. And in that belief, I got directly on my laptop and started researching. I became emotionally bankrupt. Nonverbal, lack of emotion, stimming, socially inept, lack of complete independence. All of these terms replaced parties, potty training, happiness, marriage. What did I do? Was it his vaccines? Plastic baby bottles? Lack of being able to nurse, my genes? What did I do to make this happen? My guilt turned into anger, which turned to cynicism. No one, and I mean no one, was going to tell me that my son had autism. I was going to protect my boy and argue every comment, side look, therapy, and help that my son was offered because I was his mother. I knew better. I had hope even if no one else did. We had our meeting with our regional centers 3 weeks later. We sat there in front of our caseworker with their psychologist. JJ's father and I were presented with packets on how to rate our son's skills. I, of course, found my son bumping off his ability because, of course, I saw signs of them even in their infancy. While the psychologist presented pictures and games for JJ to play with, JJ showed no interest in play and played in the corner with the wooden blocks as content as he could be. He just doesn't know this guy. Of course he's not going to play with him, I said to myself. The caseworker went over our answers, had us sign a bunch of paperwork, and we were done. We were told that the psychologist would prepare his evaluation and we would have a copy in the mail and a later appointment date. Great, we're waiting. It is our understanding that a diagnosis of autism is appropriate for JJ at his present ability. My face felt numb as the psychologist read his evaluation to us at the next appointment. But he's in Head Start, he's going to be in school, he's going to be okay, I kept thinking to myself. We have resources that we can give you and therapies we can recommend. I remember nodding my head because I didn't know what else to do. My baby doesn't have autism. We have a group on COB that we're working with, AAI. Have you heard of them? A caseworker asked me. They can come and work with JJ at Head Start. I agreed, knowing this would be over soon, and we wouldn't need any help. He was going to prove everybody wrong. I had a play date the following week with a girlfriend at the park. Her son was the same age as JJ at the time, and I thought it would be a good idea to get them together. Her son knelt down to eat with us, asking for his juice box and sitting contently as he ate. JJ was running, flapping, nonverbal, and not eating. My friend at the time looked at JJ and said, "Is he okay?" "Yeah, he's okay. He's just excited. The doctors think he's autistic, but I don't agree." She then looked at her child and then slowly looked back at mine. I thought she was going to move her son away from mine in her next move, like JJ was contagious. She didn't say a word. I felt in that moment that maybe I would be my son's only friend. If he was different, then I was different too. Maybe my baby does have autism. I sunk further into depression after that day, and what I remember is minimal. I remember meeting with Brian and AAA at JJ's school, and him trying to communicate with me, and me trying to look like I was too rushed to face the diagnosis. I just wanted my son, not the diagnosis. It wasn't until Brian came to my house and explained ABA, and that there was hope for my son. Recovery. Yes, there were delays, but we can work to improve what we are seeing. Hope. I'm not going to lie. Part of me didn't believe him because JJ was a lost cause to his doctor and anyone who had seen him prior. But I agreed to therapy and tried to let the professionals handle the autism. I'll be the mom. But I couldn't really avoid reality hitting when Brian called me into Head Start to meet with him and go over what ABA therapy was, and after JJ started to display more frequent meltdowns, hair pulling, and self-injurious behavior. He explained to me that helping JJ required me to know what we were doing and get involved so I could understand my son's healing and provide adequate backup practices at home. JJ needed to learn how to learn, and I needed to help him. I needed to be an advocate. But how was my son, who was nonverbal, going to communicate with me? Brian and JJ's RBT Melanie sent me home with text cards after that initial meeting. Cards were going to help my son? Yeah, right, I thought to myself. I had grown to know what my son needed, and through various acts of charades and examples, I could figure out his contentment on my own. But this was the first time I had two people in front of me, confident in my baby and his abilities and potential. He could do it, but I needed to believe it as well. They weren't against me, or my son, or autism. They wanted to help us and bring JJ back. 2 days later, while at home with our new textbook on the kitchen table, JJ had a meltdown. I thought I could communicate for him and provide everything he needed, but nothing was working. I tried everything. toys, food, hugs, nothing. And then I stared at the book through my tears, and JJ nuzzled in my neck. I opened the book and laid it in front of my sobbing son. He reached in the book and handed me the text card for juice. He stopped crying. 10 months later, our textbooks sit on our shelf in the same place so that Jay can always access it. The only difference is that it's collecting dust because my son is verbal. My baby tells me I love you every day. My son does not stop talking. AAI, Brian, Sherry, Melanie, and Chelsea and their team have brought my son back to me, and he is continuing to grow every day. I have a team, a support, and a group to tell me everything is okay. If I could go back to the very beginning and tell myself to pull my head out of the sand and trust, I would do it in a heartbeat. Back then, I was denying access to my son's growth. I was protecting him from the very people that wanted to heal not only him, but me as well. ABA and early intervention are essential and need to be taken seriously. You can still be an amazing and protective parent by realizing that yes, there is a diagnosis, but there is also an evolution. What makes you good as a parent is the action you take after the diagnosis. Brian and his team have been working with JJ for over a year and have brought so much into our lives by doing what they do. They work tirelessly to do everything in their will to make sure that my son has the best chance at life. My son is now beginning to potty train, is thriving in special education preschool, says goodnight and kisses us every night, eats like a champ and is an overall chatterbox and an angel to be around. My dreams of my baby are back. He will have birthdays. I will not be his only friend. He will have a normal life. I believe this with everything I have because JJ is proving it to me. Create an environment around the stigma of autism. Believe that there is hope. AAI brought my son and myself out of the prison of self-doubt and into the freedom of self-confidence and belief. The fate of our children does not lie in their diagnosis, but in their drive, and ours to create our own definition of autism through healing. When they say he can't, say he can. When they say it'll be ugly, respond with the potential in pure beauty. When they say there will be challenges, say there will be victories because we have asked for help. JJ will be 4 in August, and through his autism and Jay's continued healing, we have both changed. I am more involved with his therapy than I have ever been. His father, grandparents, and I have home-based services for JJ 5 times a week and welcome our team through our front doors with open arms. I make sure that I always ask what I can do to continue growth at home and at school. I make sure that if I do have questions, I ask about it right away. AAI can testify regarding the frequency of my emails. We are all healing our vets through adhering to a GAPS diet at home. Yes, your baby can eat meat and veggies because mine does now. And I've started a vlog to help other autism mommies and daddies to help them avoid where I was before I had AAI. We are standing as a united front. Why? Because JJ deserves it. I had another play date about 2 months ago with a very close friend of mine and her 2-year-old daughter. Needless to say, after our first play date experience, I was a little nervous. The doorbell rang and our friends walked in. JJ got up from our coffee table where he was playing with his toys and came to hold my hand as he assessed our new company. JJ looked at 2-year-old Molly's mom and said, "Hi." With a tremendous smile on his face, he followed closely with the same verbal hospitality shown to Molly and her dad as well. Our night was filled with playing, eating together, no meltdowns. Upon wrapping up from the evening, my dear friend looked at me and after she looked at my son and said, "So How close are you guys to mainstreaming? She smiled at me and looked back at my son, who was giving her daughter a hug and kiss goodbye. AAI and JJ made my dreams a reality that night, and every day they work with him. I am forever grateful. We have a gift as Autism Warriors. We are a tribe, and our children are gifts. Yes, my baby has autism, and that's okay. So I ask you today, who are you? Are you going to be defined by your indifference or by the action that you take today for you and your gift?